Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, I am so excited for this conversation, and I think you're going to be as well. Today, I am joined by Beate Chelette, and we are going to be talking about a few really important things. Our overall topic is really about becoming an authority in your industry. But before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about the internet marketing Kool-Aid that far too many people are drinking right now. And so we're going to have a fun conversation about that woven into all of the things. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to dive in and chat today.
Well, Krista, you and we are very aligned in the way we approach business. I think you probably have a better understanding on how to carve out time for yourself than I do, but I'm still learning and I'm super excited to be here.
Let me tell you a little bit about Beate before we start. She is the growth architect and founder of the Women's Code, and she provides visionaries and leaders with strategies that uncover their hidden issues, devise their growth strategy, and build a growth system so they can grow their authority and scale their impact. She is the author of Happy Woman, Happy World, How to Go from Overwhelmed to Awesome. And she has her own podcast as well, the Business Growth Architect Show, which if you go check out, which I highly encourage you to do, you can find an interview with me there as well. All right. So what I want to dive into first in our conversation today is let's start off by talking about authority in general. So what does it mean to actually be the authority in your industry, and why today especially do you feel like that's so important?
Yes. So number one, let's just slay the first myth about authority. Authority is not celebrity status. So people look at Gary Vee and they say, that's an influencer. No, Gary Vee is a unicorn. And Gary Vee is throwing millions of dollars in a team of 20 people that do nothing other than swamp the internet every day with content. Gary Vee's business model is I'm everything to everybody, so that I can sell vodka, bed mattresses, business advice, whatever that may be. So forget that. That's different. As a talking head, which most experts and consultants or professional service providers are, your chances that you become that are negative 200. So you need to be as a talking head, as an authority. You need to really focus on becoming an authority, an expert on a particular subject. So now that we've identified that authority really means being an industry expert, we have to figure out how do we build this industry expertise. So you have to be known for one thing or a system, like you are known for the lean out method, right? Slay the complexity of the business. Focus on what's really important, make time for yourself. That's what you're known for. That's what you're the authority on. But you're not the authority on everything business, on every business strategy, system, workflow, process, but it's all wrapped in under your lean out method. So you've been very smart about this. So the authority that you want to become needs to be clearly defined on what are you the authority in. So somebody says, I'm a coach and I'm an authority as a coach. That means nothing. I'm a consultant, a business consultant. Hence, I'm an authority. You're an authority on nothing. So there has to be another differentiation factor to it. And the reason this matters is because unless you're recognized for something, you are invisible. And if you're not visible in a very busy market, you cannot get the attention you deserve, and you just another service provider.
I know. It's so unfortunate and it's sad but true. But I think it's counterintuitive also, right? Especially when you're starting a business, right? Those of us who have been in business for a long time, we've learned this lesson oftentimes the hard way. Whereas when you're first starting out, it can be so scary to niche down. And you end up thinking, but I can't just be known for this one thing because I'm great at all these things. And if people know that I could help them with all these things, I'm going to get more business, and not realizing that that's actually hurting you from getting business and being recognized as the expert or, as you say, the authority. So, what are some of those other mistakes in things that you see people making that keeps them from building their authority?
Yes, I actually want to stay on this for a second because you immediately, of course, went to the core of the big question on why so few people do it. So I want your audience to really think about this. It does not mean that Krista in the lean out method can only work with dentists who are making $250,000 who want to go from, who want to go to $1.5 million. That would be a niche, but that's not what she does. She works with business owners who have one niche issue. They've added too much complexity. It is too much and they're completely overwhelmed. It is completely and entirely possible for you to take your entire knowledge base and organize it neatly under an umbrella if the umbrella solves a problem that is very specific or niche, if you so want to. So I'm the growth architect. We have the 5-star success blueprint. We help people that either need to grow with the strategies, the workflows, and the processes to get there, or people that have grown very rapidly and need to scale this so they get their freedom back by designing strategies, systems, and workflows to do that. So our authority, our specialty is exactly in the strategic approach to, I always say it's maybe for a lot of people the non-sexy part. For us, this is very exciting, is to help them to organize all of that. So in the mind of the business owner, when somebody says niche down, it does not mean that you can't deal with leadership training. It does not mean that you can't do team training. It doesn't mean that you cannot do your personality assessments. It doesn't mean that you cannot do strategy and systems and workflows and things like that. But if you list it as such, it sounds like you do 50 different things. So you must put the umbrella over it and say, I am a strategic consultant who solves X problem as the niche. And I do whatever it takes. And here's my client transformation journey with the different pieces of it, where then phase to phase, we get the freedom back for a busy business owner. So that's really critical to understand in your head, because I think that's the number one hurdle for people. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to give something up. No, you don't. You just have to package it better. So authority, in order to get authority, you have to be in front of the right people, and you have to be able to do that in such a way that you attract lead generation so that you can fill your funnel, and that your funnel then generates really good vetted leads that you then can consistently convert. That's really the secret to it. But the first thing, in my opinion, Krista, and I certainly would love to hear your opinion about it because you're an authority on this yourself, is unless they have that thing figured out, they will keep spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning forever.
Oh, I agree completely. And I see business as 4 key stages, right? And in the early stage, you're in emerge. To me, that's product market fit. That's, do I have the right thing for the right person at the right price that I've proven people want and will invest in? And when you get through that, you move into trying to grow that, and to your point, bringing in more leads, being able to fill your pipeline so that you actually are able to serve and make the impact you want and bring in the revenue and profit that you need to. Right. And so I think that that's so important. But what I see so often is people who haven't even found product market fit yet, trying to immediately skip the line and get into scale mode. And they're trying to scale all of these things that don't really work, or they're trying to grow too fast without ever first really getting super clear on what that thing is that they do, who they do it for, and the price and the packaging and the positioning that lands before they go there. So I don't know if you see that as well. I see that so often with this, it's just the noise and distraction. Everybody talking about growing and everybody talking about scaling and people wanting to be quick and get there right away, that they miss the critical piece that allows them to be able to bring in the right leads and make the right sales.
I had a podcast guest called as a phantom avatar. So if you build something, it's like the idea, build the field and they will come. That is partially correct. The field has to be the right field that's accessible with a road. You have to get the ads out that people know the field exists. You have to kind of know if it's a football field, a baseball field, a soccer field. So you have to be very clear about what actually it is that you're building to attract the right person. Then they will come. But if you just say, I bought a patch of land somewhere and the rest will automatically fall into place, I don't think that that's a really good strategy. But people, you're absolutely correct, struggle with the product market fit, especially right now. So we just went in and we have a lead magnet called Airtight Avatar. And we looked at this and we said, we need to revamp this, because what I found is that in this economy whiplash that we've been in for the last couple of years, with the pandemic, with the hybrid, with the work from home, with the maybe not, with the you're worth everything, you're worth nothing, just kidding, we're laying you off, sorry, we need you back. So it's been such a whiplash in the economy that we really encourage everybody to go back to the basics. And that's exactly what you're saying. Who is the person that you are selling to? And then evaluate, is this person even in the same mindset or in the same need stage that they were 6 months ago or a year ago? Because my values have changed. I mean, if the pandemic has taught us one thing, is family is everything. And you have to have a personal life, because if it's over tomorrow and all you did was work, that's on you. So is the value system even still the same? And then back to what you just said, Krista. Does that then mean that your product is still on target? Maybe not. Maybe you need a different hook. The product could be the same, but maybe needs to be repackaged. So to your point, yes, I see this a lot, that people are attached to the idea and they think if they like it and they put a lot of time, energy, and money in it, that automatically other people must see the value in it too. And that's just not the case.
It's so true. So true. I love that analogy that you shared. And so I want to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about what we were talking about before we hit record, and some of the internet marketing Kool-Aid, because I think it fits with this a little bit. You just shared something that's so incredibly important, is in some cases, the thing that landed even 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, might need to be repackaged or repositioned today because your target market is in a different place. They have different priorities. They might have different values. The way they make buying decisions might be different. They may have grown as a business owner or as a person or as whoever it is that you serve. And I think people don't talk about that a lot. They talk more about the next tactic or the next strategy or the next thing that you need to do, but they don't ever really tell you to stop and pause and reevaluate. Do you need to shift some of those things? So, what are some of the things that you're seeing and experiencing, and some of the Kool-Aid that people need to be really careful of?
Yes. And again, let me give you some examples. So I worked in the past with a woman that is a phenomenal fashion stylist. And her target audience was women that wanted to, to kick butt out in the career world, on whether that's entrepreneurs or whether that's business women. And she had this thing with sort of the IBM blue dress, right? Drop that and find your own style. And she was amazing. Well, the pandemic came. So now the dress code of everybody completely changed. And then the fashion industry thought that everybody was going to be living in sweats and comfy tees forever and ever and ever, and run around with t-shirts that show your stomach that end midriff. It turns out that that was a false assumption, that people actually kind of liked to be back out and dress cute and look wonderful, that this comfy code was clear in our heads, that's our at-home comfy code. And we take advantage of it. But the minute we go outside, we kind of want to look somewhat decent. So if she would have thought about this ahead of time, then or would have crawled into the heads of her potential clients, she would have picked up the phone and made these phone calls and asked these kinds of questions. So that's how you need to look at this from the perspective of what we are seeing is that a lot of people go, well, great, I'm just going to go right back to what I used to do and what used to work. And it's just not the case. Literally the last 6 months, and I'm shocked myself, Krista. I don't know on how you see that in your business, but there is a wait and see attitude, which of course is fueled by media because the media needs to write about something. So the more you listen to the media, the more you lose your power to the external force of something that is unknown but fearfully represented. And then you become paralyzed and you don't know what to do. Now, if you would turn off the news and you'd focus on what you have control over, which is you yourself, the product that you sell, the clients that you can serve, because last time I checked, people still go to the store. They're still wearing clothes. They still need new shoes. They're still having businesses. They still need business advice. They're still launching things. There are people that have what I call a bucket of, and I'm going to say a bad word, a bucket of shit that went wrong. The bigger the bucket, the more fearful you get because like, oh, go look at this. This is all the stuff that can go wrong. So if I'm trying X, it's going to go really bad. There's a whole generation that doesn't have that bucket. Or there's just only like a tiny, tiny little bottom layer in that bucket. They go like, what could go wrong? Keep your mouth shut. Don't tell them because we don't want to give them our bad experiences of all the mistakes that we made. We can share our experience, but we forget that there is a generation that is coming next, and there's another generation after that. My daughter's having a baby in a couple of weeks. She's not worried about that there's not going to be a planet. She's going to figure out, how I'm going to raise this child and how I'm going to make sure that my child and my child's children have enough planet to live on. But that's her job. That's no longer my job. My job is to get her to this point. So we have to stop extrapolating our fears on something else. And that brings us to the internet marketing Kool-Aid. Now, there's a whole industry that is designed and built on those very facts. So what happens is you find one guru, expert, authority, internet marketer. And they say, if you only knew how to speak from stage, you could be in front of a lot of people. You'd have easy lead generation. You'd be filling your portfolio with a lot of speaking engagements. You make money here, and then you sign all these clients basically automatically. Then you do this and you learn how to speak, and they're very good at what they do. And then next thing you know, an internet marketing affiliate program comes in, and it's their buddy, Jeff Walker, let's say, as an example, who does the product launch formula, which is very good. And he says, well, but you're going to need to launch a product in order to have a product to sell. So you may as well launch it properly using my formula. Then you go and you do that and you say, and now you're a year in. And then you think about this and say, well, but how do I do my lead generation? Sure enough, an affiliate program is going to come in from somebody who does funnel hacking. So now you are with Russell Brunson, the god of everything internet marketing, funnel hacking. And now you need to buy his program and his CRM. And now it's another 6 months gone, just trying to figure out how this whole thing works. But you still don't have leads. So now the next affiliate marketing thing comes in and says, well, what about your leads? Where are the people going to come from? And now you have a real issue, because that is the only issue you should be concerned about. How am I going to get the leads in before you do everything else? And so that's why we always say you got to have the strategy first, build your signature system so you know what it is that you're doing, what the client transformation is, what the entry points are. And then, and only then, are you allowed to look on the shelf and say, what do I have that I can use that fits here? And what do I need that I need to learn so it fits here? But people get it the other way around. It drives me crazy. And people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, myself included. It took me probably $250,000 to figure this out.
It's so interesting because, right, I've been in business for a really long time. And when I think back on my journey, there's some things that I've done that have been absolutely transformational and propelled me forward in really amazing ways. And there's some things I have done that actually rewound my success, sometimes by years. And it's fascinating to me. It's the places where I went where I learned more strategies to apply and adapt to my business propelled me forward. Anytime I joined somebody's program, here's how you launch, here's how you do this, here's how you do this. And it was a really prescriptive way of doing it. It always set me back in my business without fail every single time. Because being the natural rebel that I am, of course, I can't follow something that somebody tells me to do, right? I've got to look at it and be like, well, that's fine for them, but I'm going to do this with it instead, and this with it instead, and this with it instead. So I spend all this time re architecting the system that they have that may or may not have worked. But all that time I'm spending on that, I'm not spending on me and what I'm doing and what I should be doing to get leads for my thing. It's a distraction. It's such a distraction. And so it's so fascinating to me to hear you say that, because I think that is true. When you do have that clarity on what are your strategies, what is it that you're selling, what is that signature offer that you have, who are the people that you're trying to target, when you have that clarity going in, I think you make more discerning decisions. I think you can find things that actually support you to propel you forward instead of distract you and take you off course. And I always think be super careful to ever invest in something that someone says must be done a very particular step by step cookie cutter way, because I guarantee you it does not fit your
No,
business.
I remember vividly. I was taking a course on selling from stage with a very well-known female marketer, and she said you have to structure it in this particular way. And I did that. I was speaking at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And typically when I speak, nobody leaves the room. People don't even go use the restroom. I mean, it's like they're mesmerized. They just sit there. This is the first time the room emptied. It was that bad. I was so uncomfortable. It wasn't my flow. She swore that that's the way to do it and just didn't work for me. So to your point, yes. When I hear somebody who says this is the one missing thing, please run. Because the reality of it is, and that's, I'm sure that's what you do in your work, reducing the complexity and the lean out. Because people come to you with these 60,000 programs that they have, and you go, well, but you hate speaking. Why are we doing this? You said you want to spend more time with your family. Why are you trying to get on stages? You know that there's travel involved, prep involved, and then you still have to do the work. So how are you going to do the work and service your client when you're always on a plane going somewhere? I loved speaking. But then when the pandemic came and my speaking, came to an end like it did for everybody else, I'm like, why would I want to go and do that again? I mean, I do it locally and as it applies, but do I want to fly to New York a full day to get there for an hour to speak and then fly a full day back? And then it's a lot of work for that. So you have to also be very clear on, which is why I love what you do so much, is because it's get clear. Does this fit your lifestyle? Does this fit what you want? If you like speaking, but you don't want to travel, podcasting, guess what? We started our own podcast and we created a whole podcasting strategy to get this message out in front of a lot of people because it's much better. I'm here in my office. I'm in my video room. I mean, that's much better than being on a plane somewhere and dealing with all of that. So the cadence of success is not very difficult. Get clear what you want and where you want to go. Find the business model that suits that lifestyle. Nobody can force that on you. That is your decision on how you build your business. Then you create the system. So you know what the client transformation journey is. You figure out who your hero is, your signature offer, the one thing that you're going to be known for. And then you can have all these other things around it, but that's what you focus on. And then you focus on lead generation and sales and closing. Once you have that, you can do whatever you want. But that's it. I mean, we can say it in 30 seconds. That's how simple it is.
It is. I know. I say all the time, people make growing and scaling their business so much harder than it needs to be. And I think it does come down to everybody has that one key critical thing that you just have to do what they sell in order to make it. But it's really just a distraction from the critical things that you just outlined. So tell people a little bit about your work. How do you work with people? How do you help them do exactly this and actually grow their business and keep things simple?
Yes. So I thought everybody knew how to do that. And I was absolutely shocked, Krista, that people didn't know how to build a system. And so I used to, when I started, I gave my clients basically like 4 pages of, just a Xerox outline. And they say, what is this? I said, well, that's how you build your system. And judging by the puzzled face, I realized that that was something that they didn't understand. So over time, it emerged that I really am the authority on building signature growth systems because I can hear you say things, and then I immediately can see where the system is, where the client transformation journey is. So my gift is to go and find all the puzzle pieces that are in someone's head. And then I pull them out and help you organize it so you get your signature growth system, a complete client transformation journey with different entry points so that a client can self diagnose when they talk to you on where they fall in the different entry points. So somebody may be in phase 1, maybe somebody only needs phase 5, but you're pre selling the whole system. You can sell more. You can sell more to more people for longer periods of time. The experience is better. It's neatly organized. They know what they get. They know what the transformation of every step is. So I help put this together, and I've developed an 8-week mastermind to do that. I do it sometimes when it's a company and it's a team. I do it in a day or over 2 half days. So if that's something that's interesting, please by all means reach out. At the very least, let's have a conversation about it and see if that's the right thing for your listeners. But I cannot stress this enough, and I'm not saying this because I happen to do this, but to me, unless you are clear on what that differentiation factor is, the thing that makes you the authority, makes you stand out, you're going to have a hard time to get over $150,000, $250,000. That's just the way it is, because you don't have enough to sell and you cannot scale anything because you don't know which pieces you need to give to team members that they can handle. I mean, that's just the way it is. And you can find me all over the internet, you under Beate Chelette or Growth Architect. And if you're interested in talking to me, just go to uncoverysession.com, fill that out. Make sure you mention Krista and the Lean Out podcast so that I know where you're coming from. But always happy to help and at least help you figure out what it is. And if you go like, I'm so overwhelmed, my business is not growing, then take the quiz. Go to growthblockerquiz.com and take my 3-minute quiz that will help you to figure out what your number one business growth blocker is and tell you what to do about it. And one more thing, while we're at this, Krista does this as a labor of love. So please go wherever you pick up this podcast right now and give her a 5-star review, ideally with a comment, sharing one thing you're taking away from this conversation, and share this episode, please, with one other person who needs to hear what we talked about today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, A. That was lovely. So yes, always love any sort of ratings and reviews and feedback that you share my way. Thank you for that encouragement. But I love your work so much. It's so aligned with what we do in Lean Out Method. I know the second that you and I initially first met and talked, I was like, okay, we could have far too much fun together. But the thing that I just love so much is that you're focused on the core things that actually make an impact. The things that are going to actually drive the results that people want without a lot of the noise and complexity and things that people put in place where they then need me to come in and lean things out and get rid of and unwind all of it. So everyone listening, I highly encourage you to go check everything out. You'll find all the links down below in the show notes. But before we wrap up, I have one final question for you. This is the same thing I ask everybody, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. And that is, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
I actually went on a business diet that started about, I want to say, a year and a half ago. Very much what you talk about happened to me. that it was this and it was this and it was this and content here and this there. And then I had to go and take my own advice and say, okay, this is way too much. I'm not having any fun. I was angry. I was miserable. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that something's wrong when you're angry and miserable and you're working all the time. You have to constantly go, does this add anything, or is it taking me away from the main thing? And we went in, we shut down over 450 blog posts that were not relevant to what we do right now. Very painful. Money, time, energy, effort, people hired that, had to be done. We went into YouTube, we shut down videos that weren't relevant to what we're doing right now anymore. So I think it's a constant effort, to answer your question, Krista, to say, just like you have to watch what you eat every day, unless you want to, put the empty calories in, or when you eat the ice cream, that you're not having the glass of wine. Just like that, it's in business. Be careful what you add and always think about how can I take steps out? How can I simplify this? How can I make this easier? It's a constant process, like a daily process to me. But to me, it's like a diet. It's like, what am I going to do today that makes the most sense for me to drive my business forward?
Brilliant. All right. As we wrap up here, one last time, where is the best link for somebody to find you if they want to go and explore your work and potentially do some work with you?
Yes. Again, go to my website, beatechelette.com. There's lots of information out there, and the other links will be in the show notes. If you want to reach out and contact us directly, go to uncoverysession.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you for listening. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.